Hey everyone, I'm gearing up for another pinball talk video. These usually go pretty long, cover a couple topics here and there. I'll just say real quick as a preview, I played Evil Dead and Harry Potter, and I'll give my thoughts on those in the next video. I wanted to go back over this comment that George Gomez made and then an extended version of the clip, because he talks about this feature that only they have, where they can tie movie clips to like the King Kong. So as the movie's at a certain frame, it can move the motor up and down. And he talks about how video game developers don't really understand how to sync audio across platforms and stuff, which
everybody thinks like when I get a new programmer and he comes from the video game world, he thinks he knows what's up.
Yeah.
And the reality is that our world is a lot different. I mean, it's a good start. It was a good education. But now let me introduce you to real world physics. And let me introduce you to another control layer that's way more complex than the control layer that you're used to, because all this stuff has to talk to each other. So my animations, my sounds, etc., have to be in sync with the device. I mean, you guys heard the most interesting sort of weird evolution of this is the fact that animations created in our software tools are now driving our Kong's mechanics.
Yeah,
right?
That
was one of the standout things.
So
that
it's
we heard
kind of
too,
like that's a pretty cool piece of unique tech that
we'll get into some of this maybe a little bit deeper in some other programming topics in the next video. But the idea that you can't sync movie clips or that it's hard, this is the second time I've heard this from a pinball company. One's an actual good, world-class pinball company, and the other one was one that I think is failing at this point. They said they couldn't believe, and they tried to mock me and say I couldn't possibly play a in-sync audio trigger from hardware. If you understand anything about the USB connection, you can get a data packet in under a millisecond. That's pretty standard. If you've ever transferred a file to a USB, you can transfer gigs in a second, which means you can get a couple bytes or whatever to trigger a sound almost instantaneously. So again, if you hear this clip, you'll hear something about how video game developers don't really understand what's going on. And video game developers are actually the smartest dudes in the world, as far as I'm concerned about engineering. Worked with a lot of smart guys, and you have to know a lot to do video games. I'm not sure why you would mock them. Gomez is old, he's 70 years old. I mean, my dad's old too. He was in programming a little bit back in the days, but he didn't, if my dad came into my company, he wouldn't really know what to do. I mean, pinball's a tech company, in my opinion. It's a software company. Pinball machine is a video game. There's really no distinction here. My degree is in video games. Anyway, I'm kind of traveling on, but just listen to this clip, because I'm gonna, at the end of this clip, I'm gonna program this feature he's talking about, and kind of, I don't know if he's bragging about it or whatever, but in 8 minutes, which I speed up for you, I programmed this feature. I have it in Pinball Designer. So this isn't a hard concept. It's not one that only they have. I have it now too. And then we're gonna go into another clip here where Spooky thinks it's gonna cost $1 million to develop Insider Connect, and I'm gonna do it in like 1 day.
It's not going to be the level of Insider Connected, because that probably cost millions of dollars to develop and keep running at this point, I would imagine.
And if any student right now that's in their second or third year at the school that I graduated from, if I said, hey, spin up a server like you did in CS200, I want you to have users to connect to it. Here's the data that they need. It's really simple. It's an achievement system. It takes a few bytes. So you'll have like a game ID. You'll have the number of achievements each user has. So they're gonna log in once every like 3 minutes, okay? In video games, usually you're playing a video game. You're playing Battlefield with 128 players. You're sending data, even if you're rendering at 120 frames a second, you're sending network data 30 frames a second. So your position, which is 3 pieces of data, other information, if you're pulling a trigger, where you're looking, all this stuff gets sent 30 times per second per player. That's 128 players times 30 every second that goes to a server, and then that server has to go back to everybody else 30 frames a second and say, here's where 128 people exist in the world. That's a lot of data throughput. Again, compared to a pinball machine, you're gonna press start and log in a player, and that player might already be credentialed for that, from the last game. So you might not even need to contact the server for that. And we're talking about small amounts of data. There's another clip that I didn't get to talk about Sorry that I couldn't find where George Gomez mentioned something about server costs for Insider Connect. A server costs about $200. For me, I can do, if I want to do monthly and do like a virtual Windows server, I think it's maybe 40 bucks a month. You really only need one server to run Insider Connect. I'm not sure why that's an issue. So 40 times 12, or it's not even $1,000 a year for me to run my Outsider Connect. And if I want to spawn up a few more servers, you just multiply that by 3. It's a linear scale right there. You shouldn't have more than 3 or 4 servers to run that. Even at 1 million users, and if they're interacting and playing literally every day, and they don't stop playing, and they just, if you get 1 million users that play all day, again, I just showed you the concept of Battlefield. You have dedicated servers that are receiving tons of information every sub-second. So yeah, again, you got 1 million players, they press the start button every 3 minutes. That's not that much, that's not that bad.